Hi, this is Eric. I am the Gray Goat. This is my garage. We're powered by OMBWarehouse.com. Today we're going to show you one of my personal engines here. I'm putting one of the Chinese VM22 Mikuni carburetors on this engine. And like many of you out there, you're a little confused on how to hook your throttle up to a slide type carburetor like this. But at OMB Warehouse, we have a solution for that. What we have is a bracket that we came up with, and I've glued everything down so you can see the different parts. We've got the stainless steel bracket, comes in every color you want as long as it's silver because it is stainless steel. We've got 2 step retainers, 2 jam nuts for those step retainers. We're also giving you extra hardware for the side cover for the recoil, a lock nut, and this is a swivel clevis. This clevis comes together and joins in the middle with this clip right here. So let's get started on this install. If this install takes you more than one cold beverage, you're not doing it right. Okay, so I've already got the blower housing off my engine. So what I'm going to do now is show you how the bracket goes on. So this bracket's going to mount right here like this. You'll have to take the blower housing off because most of these are not threaded holes right up here at the top. So to get this to attach, we'll use the metric hardware that came with it, the flanged bolt with the lock nut, and you'll just simply put that through the outside of the bracket to the inside, tighten everything down. Like I mentioned, this is an older Predator non-Hemi side cover or blower housing, so it already has a threaded hole here. So hopefully you have that blower housing off already, and let's just get this back together loosely. Now, you know I profess that when I'm assembling engines, I don't use power tools. I only use power tools if I'm disassembling an engine. It's very easy to strip off these bolts inside the aluminum block, so I make sure that I'm careful with that. We're going to skip that one right there because it's hard. You'll get the gist of this. Okay, so now we can remove this bolt here. And we're just simply going to attach our bracket. We don't need anything else with this bracket at this point. And like I mentioned, I'm going to use the bolt that we've provided here. And if the top bolt of your recoil is not threaded like this one is, then you will have to use the lock nut on the back side of the blower housing. So we'll get this snug down, we'll drop that. So now in the kit we have the step retainers with the jam nuts. So let's get these unstuck, hopefully. And we're going to put one of these nuts onto the step retainer. This is 1/4 fine thread. And then we can just simply slide that through the hole, put the jam nut on the other side, and we've got one side done. Now we can take this side, put the jam nut on, so I designed this kit because I like the vintage type throttles, but regardless if you have a golf cart, go-kart, helicopter, mini bike, whatever, you can use any throttle cable coming into the front of this bracket and then hook up to your Mikuni carburetor. You're never going to have any problems with the slide coming up because it's too short of an inner cable, or it not actuating at all because it's too long of conduit. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of extra conduit. If you don't have this, you're going to have to buy an extra throttle cable. I'll put this down inside the top of the carburetor. And what I want is a nice sweeping arc. I don't want to have a bend like that or have it come too shallow like this. I want a nice sweeping arc on this. So we're going to go about like that for this. I'm going to mark this with my finger. Now here's the difficult part for a lot of people. So many people want the exact size cable for their application. I want the longest cable I can find because I'm going to take my side cut pliers and I'm going to cut my cable down. This cable happens to have a nylon inner shield. So what I'm going to do is just put my pick through it just to let the inner cable come through. The throttle kits sold at OMB Warehouse come with an inner cable only, and that's what we're going to use for this carburetor. So to get that in the carburetor, we're going to pop the top off the carb, put that cable through there. It just simply goes into the slide like this. The slide always goes with the tapered side or the cut edge down towards the air filter. And now you can reinstall the cap. I hope this is not the hardest part of this job. Because you have to keep pressure on it against that spring. Okay, here we go. So I've got this all wrapped up tight. Let's get this cable undone. All right, so now with our cut cable, we're going to run the inner cable through from the carburetor to the top side of this bracket. So many people think that that little silver tip is critical on this, and it's not. You don't really need it. A lot of the old cables did not have that at all. So we're simply going to feed that through. Pull the inner cable through and get this cable down through the boot into the carburetor. Now we can take the inner cable and run it down through the top side of this bracket. And now we're halfway there. So there's two specific halves to the swivel clevis. These join together like this. You'll see that there's set screws inside each one. Best if you get the set screw towards the outside. But now we're going to go back to the pliers. I'm just going to cut this fairly close to where I'm going on this, because I want to maintain as much travel as I can. So I'll cut this inner cable off. I like to use the male end of this fitting. And get your tiny Allen wrenches out. We'll loosen this up a little bit. Maybe a little more. Okay, so now we'll tighten the male clevis down onto the inner cable that's going into the Mikuni carburetor. If you have this too loose, you'll know that in a hurry. So now I can just take a standard throttle cable, come up through this side, get the end of the cable into the step retainer, attach the female side of the clevis with the safety pin, I hope. Okay, and that safety pin will clip on there. Now we'll just cut this cable to length, run it through the female side of the swivel clevis, and now we have a smooth, fast-acting throttle for the Mikuni carburetor that will use any setup as long as it's a cable type setup with an inner cable, to hook up any throttle linkage, whether it's a thumb throttle, a twist throttle, foot pedal, whatever. All of that will hook up to the front side here. You also have adjustment here to adjust your chain tension. And for you kart guys, if you want to remove your engine, just take off one nut, the swivel clevis, and there's a groove cut in here that the inner cable can come in and out. So that makes it easy for you kart guys when you're swapping engines. And that's all there is to it. This is an easy kit to install. It allows you to use any throttle with any slide type carburetor on the small engines. This fits the 196cc clones, the Predator 212s, Ducar, Tillotson, any engine that is 6.5 horsepower, overhead valve, Chinese based engine. So it gives you a lot of different options, but it also gives you a lot better feel, and you don't have to go buy 26 cables like I've done in the past. I'm Eric. I am the Gray Goat. This is my garage, and we are powered by OMBWarehouse.com. This is the Mikuni carburetor bracket that allows you to install any throttle, essentially, to any slide type carburetor on the small 6.5 horsepower based engines. Thank you.